What's the number one excuse you hear from lifters? Like, they can't do a lift because, oh, my back's blown out, or, oh man, my shoulder can't bench anymore, or, oh my god, I worked so hard. I have the hardest job ever. If you had my job, or, oh, I'm all natural. I don't do steroids. Is that your argument? You're all natural. Well, maybe you shouldn't be. I don't know, man. Like, you look at us and guys that are gone to the dark side and run testosterone replacement therapy, or maybe we do cycles now and again, and it's like, oh, we can do all the lifts, we're ambulatory, we're healthy, and we actually enjoy our lives, and we're not crippled. But the bottom line is, all of that is coping. Any excuse that you're willing to leverage to try to make yourself look or feel better because you can't do something, especially if you're going to denigrate other people that can do it, that's called coping, and it's extremely unbecoming of a man to cope. Don't do that. It's a bad look, man. It's a bad look. Nobody wants to hear excuses as to why you can't do something. I know it looks really, really petty when you put your crap on other people and try to denigrate them because they have the ability to do something you can't, especially when they're putting the work in. Now, this is a glimpse into the routine that I do on a nearly daily basis, just to basically get myself to the point where I can even do athletic stuff. It's a huge stretching and mobility routine that I do, and I have a variety of movements that I regularly rotate and cycle in and out. So when I was in the service, I had a back injury, 48 stitches in my back. I lost feeling in half of my lower body for a couple of years, which created some really severe imbalances. I have a slip disc in L5. I have fractured something or other, a little bone down there that's plagued me, and I've had nerve issues. And the last year you guys saw that I was out for a month or so after that nerve went. But the thing is like, what happened is immediately I went into physical therapy mode, and I spent almost every waking minute just working on getting that mobility back. So it's like, you got to learn to love the process, and I love it. If you look at like the big lifts, squat, bench, deadlift, that's not even 10% of the work I do. Almost 90% of everything I do is all of the physical therapy lifts, the stretching, the mobility, running, hitting the heavy bag, hell, just playing with my kids. Or spending some time in the bedroom with my lovely lady. Ooh, we have our own little cardio we like to do. I digress. No, man, I had to really, really learn to love the process. I was joking about the steroid thing, but, the fact of the matter is I'm talking to a lot of guys my age who are so anti, they claim to be natural, and they're so anti-drug use that they're willing to sacrifice quality of life to be like sanctimonious pricks. But on top of that, they judge other people, anyone who's stronger than them is on steroids, basically, which is laughable because they're so weak that, like, there's natural lifters who are warming up at those weights. I know, and they're not even as heavy as those guys are. But even if that was true, that's a bad look. That's a really bad look, because when you get online and you say stuff like that, you might, get a couple of comments from the people that who are like, yeah, bro, tell them. But I would say 99% of the people who watch that just look at a guy and say, God, that guy's pathetic. You know what I mean? Or, like, say you're performing a heavy lift and you're not hitting the numbers you want, and you use like, oh, I worked so hard today, I could barely get this weight up. We've all had days like that, But if that's like your excuse that you roll with, that just makes you kind of look pathetic. It makes you look like, you're not willing to put the effort into just getting stronger, and you're going to post excuses online. Jeez, come on, man. Like, see, look what I'm wearing. I have like the fruitiest fucking shorts known to man on, and I'm wearing a little stringy tank top, and I'm I've started doing that on purpose just to see if I can get shitty comments from people. But me wearing this ridiculous getup and looking the way I do, I'm still like 1,000 times manlier than like anybody who's online whining because they can't lift because they had a hard day's work. And nobody works as hard as I do. Oh my God. I've been in commercial construction for 20 years, man, and all the trades are busting ass. Like, they're all out there getting it done in the heat, in the cold. And the difference is that the boys we work with, we get it done no matter what. I don't care if you're sick, I don't care if you're tired, I don't care if you're bleeding, we still lift the damn weights. Back to the steroid thing, something to consider, especially when you're over the age of 40. If you're working with a doctor and you're getting your blood work done, you're leaving a lot on the table, if you aren't even willing to consider modern medicine improves the quality of life. And there's some evidence to support that the use of steroids and things of that nature can you run a big risk of like getting cancer and that sort of thing. And I would say that if you're abusing any drug, like there's going to be negative effects. Period. Like it's bad for you, and I would never advocate for that. But if you're working with a doctor and you're doing it right, it can really, really improve the quality of life. And I got to thinking about it. I'm the better part of 50 years old, and would I be willing to sacrifice a few years in my life if the years that I lived were higher quality, or would I just want to drag out as long as I possibly could, like a corpse shuffling around, barely able to move, just miserable, no energy. You know how you get when you get old and you just lose it. And I thought, no, I'm going to do everything that's available to fight that aging process. I'm not going to grow old gracefully. I'm not going down without a fight. I love to do the things I do, and I might not be able to do them at the same level I could, but it would be a real bummer if I wasn't able to do them at all. Even when I hang it up and I'm going to no longer compete at a high level, I still want to participate. If I'm coaching young kids, or I open up my own facility, or I start hosting meets, I still want to get out there and do it with them. Like Steve Dennison, the president of the USPA, he'll be doing meets and he'll throw his singlet on and hit his lift and then get right back to announcing. All those guys are still competing. And they all gather, they get their qualifiers in at the beginning of the year, and then they go do worlds at the end of it. So even though, they're no longer trying to be the best in the world, they're still competing at a reasonably high level, sometimes into the 60s and 70s. And I don't see why that can't be everyone, but we all have injuries. If you do this for any length of time, you're going to accumulate injuries. I don't care if you're natural. And especially if you're abusing steroids, you're definitely going to get hurt. That is for sure going to happen. So it's all about minimizing risk. I mean, you could do everything perfect and get hit by a bus and then be a cripple and still have to do the physical therapy stuff. So it's really about doing all of the little things so that you can continue to do the big things when they matter. And the big things to me is like, of course, competing, playing with my kids, being able to do fun activities with my family, being able to still do the things I love at a reasonable level. That's what's important to me. So yeah, I spend most of my time doing the little stuff so that I can still do all the things I love. And there are no excuses. I don't care what the injuries are. The only thing that's going to stop me is if I lose a limb or I cripple myself. If I can still have a shot at it, I'm going to put the work in so that I can still do it. Period.